with Vipan Maney. How are you,
Hello,
Vipan?
everybody. Good morning, Simon. Today,
Well, we're talking about purpose
yeah,
in our
yeah.
series of subjects, and yeah, really interesting subject this one, especially yeah, I feel very like I've been on a real journey with this one. So,
Oh, good. I'm looking forward to hearing your story then. I mean, for listeners who trying to understand, they where do we start with this? I mean, does everyone have a purpose? And do people, so everyone who gets up in the morning, do they think they have a purpose? What is it?
well, I think obviously no, people don't have a purpose because if they did have a purpose or they were aware of it, then people wouldn't, the suicide rates and depression rates and things like that wouldn't be so high. I would say that actually most people don't have a purpose, or certainly the kind of purpose that gives life purpose. I think that that's the kind of purpose that, for me, that's true purpose, is that a purpose that gives life meaning or imbues it with a sense of more meaning in the biggest sense. So, no, I wouldn't say most people do have a purpose, and it's easy to think people do, but I would say I've actually met very few people who do truly have a purpose. I'm quite, most people are purposeless. That's why people are looking and they're
Yeah.
searching. People are searching for a purpose. They're searching for a reason to live there. And most people are, yeah, kind of frantically searching actually. And I don't think our societal structures give people a purpose that empowers them. The purpose you're given is your reason for being is to study, go to uni, get a job, and become a part of a production line for a society that doesn't feel like it cares about you particularly. And then you work all of your life to retire, and then your purpose is to sit there and maybe enjoy 10, 15 years of freedom. A true purpose for me is something that frees the spirit. And I would say that most people's purpose traps the spirit. Um, I would actually say one of the great pandemics of certainly of young, I mean, I think about the difference between women and men are very different because I think women sort of grow, there's a sense of purpose, although it's changing, a sense of purpose in being feminine because you have mothers and aunts who give birth and have families, and it's changing a bit now, but I think most women don't struggle with that purposelessness as men do because men don't have that familial structure, even, to become a father, but then you have to provide and protect and bring purpose to the family. And I see a lot of purposelessness, and I myself have been utterly lost.
I mean, it's interesting. So you've raised a lot of important points. Um, what struck me listening to you was that the impact of and the role of society. So, typically when we're growing up, we are told our purpose is to go to school, you know, get a good education, get a good job, get as much money as you can, and that is equated to success and happiness. And once people, so you're on this treadmill thinking, yeah, I'm going to be great. I'll be happy and everything will be just pucker once I get that great job and the money's rolling in. And so we're striving to get to that sort of mountain, that mountain top. But so that is what society tells us. But clearly, given the rates of depression and suicide and people's general unhappiness um, and ill health, it's clear that is false. It's like a false belief, um, because you know I don't know about you, but yeah, I mean I was on that treadmill myself for many years, and frankly, what took me off that treadmill was a huge health scare. Well, many health scares, frankly, but relating to my heart. But up until then, I was on that treadmill thinking, yeah, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, I've got to get to that career summit, as it were. and nothing was going to deter me, and I was going to do it at all costs. That was my purpose and intention, as it were. But once you have that knock and setback from my that I had anyway, then it forced me to rethink what is my purpose, because I can no longer do that purpose. I wasn't able to do it, frankly. So, um, working in the city under those stressful conditions, it wasn't an option for me. But then it forced me. So the silver lining of those problems I had was that it forced me to rethink what is my purpose in life. But most people don't get that. Well, I count myself lucky as I've had a second, third, fourth chance, as it were, to reevaluate. But most people just carry on in their whole lives, not on autopilot,
Yeah.
don't they?
Yeah, Henry David Thoreau wrote a book called Walden, and there's a great quote in it, which is men lead lives of quiet desperation. And yeah, I think the big thing with purpose, Vipan, is it can't really be given to you from outside of you. You
Yeah,
can't be told what your purpose is. It can't. That's in fact, if that's how it comes about, that's a great way of knowing that's not true. Someone can't come along and go, this is your purpose. And it should
no,
start very, very young. In the ancient tribes, vision, which gave purpose, was acquired by men and women disappearing for weeks on end and going on vision quests, or using psychedelics, or something that gave them solitude, silence, introspection, and divine guidance, right? Like the idea that purpose is given to you by your parents or a school teacher anything outside of you is kind of like a bit insane, actually. And people are looking for purpose inside books, inside courses, and it's fine, but actually something comes along like heart attacks or addiction, and you have to really dig deep to recover. It's that digging deep and going inside yourself. I'm actually also a really big, young people are put under a lot of pressure to know who they are very early, right? Very, very early. Like when you're 19, you're meant to know what you're going to do for the rest of your life. I think that's a really big mistake. And I'm a big believer that part of discovering who you are is to get lost. I don't think we allow people to get lost enough. They need to get lost because you need to be lost. You do. I mean, look, it's for hard as a
what you
parent.
mean? Tell what you mean by that. Get lost in
Like,
a nice way.
it's almost like, for me anyway, I'll just talk about for me, the
Yeah,
doorway
yeah.
purpose for me was through absolute purposelessness. I needed to know what purposelessness was. It's like if you really want to know what hot is, right? And all I do is give you a hot tap, you'll never know it. But if I give you cold for 5 years and then I give you hot, you'll know hot,
Mm.
right? Because you've had its opposite. And I think we keep young people a bit safe, and I think it's a bit like that with knowing yourself. You have to almost like get completely lost. And I've got a couple of my brother's a great example. My brother's a 29-year-old male, and in some weird way, I have a lot of hope for him because he's a bit lost. Like he's a bit lost, and he's chasing everything that moves, money, girls, all of it. And I kind of think to myself, I've got more hope for him than someone who's doing a doctorate. Right. So I've got more hope for him than someone who's studying to be a doctor at 29, who's been at uni for 10 years. Because I think that
Because
doctor is probably going to serve society and be great. But
what if it's that passion, that doctorate, the guy or the lady, that person,
if it's
they're
their
doing a
passion,
job.
then it's irrelevant. No, I'm talking about, or maybe it's the wrong one. I'm just talking about someone who's at uni because their mum or their dad wanted them to go to uni because they're on the path to do what their granddad did, or
So,
they're on a career path. I think that
so what you,
there's something about knowing something's opposite that is
yeah.
really powerful. And I don't think we allow space to for ourselves to do that.
I,
I think purpose is a bit like that.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess so. What's aligned to purpose? So, um, goals, having goals, and purpose. So, for me, it's like I had certain goals that I wanted to achieve, and I believe that was that kind existed. That is my purpose to fulfill those goals. But what is I didn't so I went through many years following those goals every year, writing my goals down. But the the obviously the issue is or was that those goals were mismatched to they weren't the right goals because they didn't really have the right purpose. So what most people do, I guess, similarly, they think they're doing great, and yeah, I've got goals. I know what I'm doing. I don't know why I'm doing it, but it's that real deep understanding of the why. Because I think sometimes when you reach your
Mm.
goals, you have this feeling inside, and you talk about you've got to know yourself. I think that's really powerful, and we should talk about it a bit more because unless you have that. So basically, what happens? You reach your goals, and then you think, so what? So for example, you get that promotion, or you get that whatever bonus or raise or whatever, because that you've always wanted, you've aspired for it, or you get that car or whatever because you've dreamt of it and it's been your goal for X years. But what happens when you get it? You hear what I'm saying? Is it because then you feel this with most people, it's a never-ending quest because you think, oh, okay, I've done that. Now what? Because there's that emptiness. Because if it's that, I think they're then trying to chase the next whatever goal or find another goal on a similar ilk, but it doesn't. But they don't realize, and I say that not from judgment, because this is what happened to me was that goal doesn't fulfilling that goal and ambition. So you have those career ambitions basically, and then they don't fulfill you.
No, and I
But
would say, Vipan, that actually purpose has nothing to do with outcomes. You can't say my
yeah,
purpose is to hit this outcome. Purpose is an embodied feeling that comes from within, that if you're connected to, all actions come from it, and you find yourself moving in the right direction. Like purpose for me is not my purpose is to hit this goal. My purpose, I don't think that's purpose. I think purpose is an embodied feeling that takes over your whole being. It's like you wake up and you're on purpose.
yeah,
But you can't really say to someone, "This is my purpose." You might have a mission,
mm,
right? That your feeling of purpose, if you sit there long enough, could generate itself into a mission, right? And the mission may have a vision, and then it may have goals, and you can generate these external guideposts and aims and targets from purpose, but they are not purpose. Purpose, when you meet someone who's got purpose, right? You go, oh, it's an embodied thing that they have within them of like, oh my word, that guy is on purpose. and
how
and
do you know? Tell me
I think
more.
it's
How do
just
you know?
they know where they're going. They know where they're going. They know exactly where they're going, and or they are moving in the direction of their own heart's desire, something like that. They are moving in the direction. You can feel it because their heart and their mind are connected. Their body and their mind and their heart are connected because it's their whole soul. In the Buddhist term, they call it Dharma. Dharma means your soul's reason for being. You can meet people when they're on it. And that's why I say it's few and far between. And for me, like if a vision, the vision and the goals should always be changing, determined on what the feeling of purpose. That feeling is it's like a compass. It gives you orientation into the future. It
Yeah,
tells you how to behave in the world. So I think purpose is not an external thing. I think it's an embodied feeling, and it's not even a feeling. It's almost an embodiment of your divine reason for being here.
yeah,
That's.
yeah,
I mean, I've got big ideas for purpose as well. Most people don't have it. Most people don't have it. I think if you met the leader of, okay, here's, if you met the leader of an oil company, right? Let's say he's an oil company and he's worth billions and he wakes up every day and he knows exactly what he's doing. I don't think he's got purpose, because I think anybody's sole purpose for being makes the world a better place. I have very sort of strict parameters for what truly godly purpose is. Godly purpose serves humanity, it serves the world, it serves animals, the planet, children. I think that anybody's purpose, if it's separate from that, I don't think it's purpose. I think it's ego or self-driven. And I think to
Yeah.
get purpose, I think the whole my feeling is the Holy Grail. The search for the Holy Grail is the search for a purpose. That's what it is, because it gives you like infinite life. It makes you feel like you could do this forever and you wouldn't get exhausted. You
So
know,
it gives you energy, gives you
yeah,
lots.
it
Yeah,
rejuvenates you, and look, it requires so much of you, like a quest, right? Like, think of it like a quest. There's times where you're gonna nearly die, but it rejuvenates you. You recover. It gives you life. It means you can do things you didn't think you could do before. It makes you brave. I
well,
think the big thing is it's inspired. People talk a lot about motivation,
mm,
right?
mm.
That's bullshit. Motivation is not something. It comes and goes, right? If you're living on motivation, one minute you want to do something, the next minute you don't. But when you're inspired, in spirit, inspired by purpose, there's no
Yeah.
motivation. It's not about motivation. It's just, this is what I do.
So, so then, so we've talked around that subject about. So, if we talk about why is purpose so important to people? Why should they have purpose? What's wrong with just carrying on as they are?
I think the soul dies and withers. I think it's like nutrients for why, I think it's like saying, why do plants need water? I think it's the same question. I think you see people, don't you? I was on the tube, not on the tube, I was on the train on the way into London
Yeah.
about 3 weeks ago. And I really was, I was going down to meet a client, it's smack bang in the middle of what I want to do, right? Like, so I felt almost like this train was like a bullet or an arrow going right at the target. And I felt amazing. I woke up in the morning, I've got my boys, twin sons, said goodbye to Jess. I
Mm.
get in the car, go to the train station. It was a really great morning because I felt, because I've had its opposite, right? Like, I've woken up and I felt really purposeless. I was like, oh, this, blimey, this is really good. And I sat on the train and I looked up and it was the opposite, men and women going into London, same journey, same commute. And I just looked around and I felt into the people that were on there. There was a couple of people who looked like they were happy to be there, but there was, women with hard features who, their pursed lips and small eyes, and men with grey suits on, drinking extra large milky coffees. And I didn't want to be too drunk. I was like, fuck, these people
Yeah.
are all going to work in an office building. It was a hot day. They're all going to work in office buildings, probably serving some corporation where they don't know two people above them. They don't really know the values of what they're connected to. Like, you can relate to that, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah, no, for
you can
sure. I
relate
did
to
that
that.
commute. I was on that commute for many years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then you had three
It,
heart attacks, right? Then you
well,
had,
yeah, yeah. So
in the
eventually you
carriage I
pay
was
off.
in, Vipan, I reckon there was about 15 heart attacks waiting to happen. You know,
Yeah, it's not a good feeling, and but again, yeah, it gives you. So what you're saying is you need it for growth. I think we're saying, and I find this subject really fascinating because for me, it's a core value is for personal growth. Is really important. What am I doing? I don't feel as I'm fulfilled unless I have some sort of that growth. So we should, for me, personal growth is important, and I think it's not. It shouldn't be just for me. Personal growth should be essential for most people, for everybody. So the fact is that a lot of people don't think like that because they're on that treadmill and they think that growth is related to their goals, and the goals are obviously to maximize their income and their for career wise. That's a lot of people's purpose. is related to, they associate, again, having a whole discussion, who are you? And if you ask them that, they say, I am a management consultant, I am a partner. So they equivalent, they associate themselves and they cannot distinguish who they are from their
No,
job. So that's who they see themselves as.
no.
But everyone else sees them as, you know, a father, you know, and somebody else, a really nice, kind guy, or someone very driven. But that's not who you are, and that's not when you retire from your job. What is it that you're left with?
I really
Um,
like that, Vipan, and I like thinking about purpose, or each of these roles that we play, the labels that we take on. So let's take a
yeah,
lawyer. Like, there's purpose. I mean, I don't even want to use the word purpose really for even this, because I think it's a lot deeper. But there's a set of behavioural responsibilities to being a lawyer, right? When you're a lawyer, you do X, Y, and Z. And you know what? If you bring purpose to being a lawyer, you could change the world, right? So you bring
yeah,
purpose to that role, and then there's all these labels, but for me, you go deeper and deeper and deeper with them. So there's they're like a deeper layer of the game. So you've got the professional labels that we all wear, and then underneath you've got the familial ones like father, mother, daughter. But I think that it's going right back and stripping right back into who am I.
yeah,
It's where and then what you do is, like, for me, I'm not a father, right? I'm not a father or a friend. I am a well, there's a feeling associated with that. And if I'm really connected to it, and I've got to be honest, at the moment, 20% of the time I am, but if I'm really connected to my own heart, then I bring purpose to all of those roles that I play. So when I'm a friend, I'm a friend. When I'm a business development manager, I'm a business development manager. When I'm a content creator, I'm a content creator. And it's almost like a way of me bringing energy to everything that I do. And it's
yeah,
regardless, like, and then you bring it, if you're at the petrol station, you're talking to the guy who you just bought your petrol. Like, for you, if you're in the coffee line, if you're on purpose, you're giving to a guy behind you with a coffee. But I think the
yeah.
problem is people think my purpose is to be a lawyer, and therefore my purpose is not to be a friend. And then they start treating their clients like they're prospects rather than people. And I think there's a depth that we can bring to everything we do.
I think you're right, because then you start losing yourself and your core identity because you're subsumed in this corporate monolith, as it were,
Mm.
and your label is a lawyer, so you are a lawyer. You're not a human being, and you don't act with the values that you would act if you didn't have that label, because you're expected to behave. And the success of a lawyer is requires a certain personality and behavior, which might not be who you really are, frankly. Not, and you see that a lot of the time. You have to put on a role, and you think, yeah, people have roles to play, and at work they are this type of person. Um, and that's what society determines is what you have to do. But how should, so you're saying if we're giving advice to people or trying to, in some respects, people are asking, okay, so how do I go about finding my purpose? And you said
Great
earlier
question.
on, go and get lost. But what in if we said to people, what is the two or three tips you would give someone if they wanted to find their true purpose? How would what would we say to them?
Number one, who were you when you were 5? Great question to ask anybody. Who were you when you were 4 or 5? Who were you before the world told you who to be? Great question to start with.
Yeah,
Most people, that inner child, like that inner child, like who is Vipan the 5-year-old? Who is Simon the 5-year-old? Right, that your creative energy lives within that 5-year-old, right? Because when you're 4 or 5, you don't have any ego structure. You're not trying to please your parents yet, or the world. So that's a great way to start. And I always think, you know, when I was in rehab, I had a photo. We've just got some advice. Jess and I are trying to come back to that a bit at the moment, where have a photo of when you were 4 or 5, and make a relationship with that person. what did they love? For me, and then start there. I loved comic books. I loved being on my own. I loved,
Yeah.
it was a really big thing for me. I wasn't very competitive. I
Yeah.
wasn't competitive. And then what you do is you go, what did I pick up along the way that's different from that? Right. So who were you when you were 4 or 5? And then what did you pick up? And then another great question. There's a whole list of questioning that's fantastic around this. One of them is which one of your parents' attention did you crave the most? And then the next question is who did you have to become to get their love? Right. And I think it's this line of questioning where you start stripping back. It's layers of conditioning that you've gathered over a lifetime. And I don't think purpose is something you find. I think it's something that is revealed when you get rid of all the crap that you've picked up along the way. And that's a long process, because you've got to ask yourself, what did your school require you to be? And what did you do to get social validation? And what did you do to get a girlfriend or a boyfriend? And what do you say? And then you start to get a bit deeper, like, I think you just start to really generate an idea of who you truly are.
Yeah.
And I think then it starts to shine out, and then I think it gets revealed. But it's hard because you have to then face rejection. When I started to wake up to who I was a little bit, I had to face my dad's rejection quite a lot, certainly my father's rejection. But also to be, a lot of people are being really nice. They're very compliant and they say yes a lot, and a lot of people pleasing in the world. And I think a lot of people, when they start stripping this back, they'll realize how much people pleasing they're doing. And then you have to start like not people pleasing and standing up for who you are and telling the truth and going, no, I don't want to do that. No, that's not who I am. And a lot of people, when they were children, were just told what to do, do this, do that, don't. And a lot of children have that sort of like inner voice suppressed. And I think that a big part of growing up as an adult is to give that child a voice and go, no, this is what I want to do. And then the question is, well, how are you going to make money from that? I don't care, because who cares about making money when you're a child? The theory, I think, is if you do what you love and you do it for long enough, you'll get good at it. And if you get good at something, someone will pay you. I say all this, but I've got sons, and I put them in front of the cricket yesterday, and they were loving the cricket, and I have to watch myself as a father go. I was thinking, oh God, no, I would love them to play cricket. And then I was like, oh God, why would I want them to play cricket? Well, I would want to so we can bond with each other. And then I immediately let go of any idea that I have over them of them wanting to be good at cricket. And I thought I used the line I used in my head to do that was, do you know what? If they're happy, they can be ballerinas if they want. I'm already training myself now as a parent, because I realize how much influence I'm going to have over them. How much influence, like Jupiter's going to do what Jupiter and Phoenix will do, whatever gets my approval. So I have to be really careful not to approve of the things that I like, and really pay attention to them and go, hang on a second, who are they? Who are they and what are they here to do? Because it might not be my dream they're here to fulfill.
So, and so if we bring that back to purpose, I think if you do have purpose, because I think you're very conscious, you are living very consciously, and you're very aware of what is going on around you and who you are, obviously. But people don't, if they're on autopilot, do that, do they? So, and how do you know if you've actually found purpose then? What is it that is there a eureka moment?
That's a great question.
Because I think you do. Close it.
So Vipan, you've found that, haven't you? You've found the eureka moment.
Yeah, I really think this is, if I could say to people who are listening, that you will know when you found your purpose, because you have that inner feeling, and your body changes, the physical feeling, and internally you just have that, it's gut feeling, but you can actually physically notice a shift in yourself, and it is it's difficult to explain, because it's on a different level, as it were, but you suddenly think, oh my God, this is it, that type of thing. But you can actually feel it inside of you, And that's when I realized what I really wanted to do with, and the passion and the, so when, when you're, okay, I was going talking about cricket, I was at the cricket um last week, and then I was chatting to somebody who was in the banking world, and he was very interested in the concept of resilience. So I gave him a little bit of a spiel, and he goes, "Wow, you're so passionate about it." Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that, and I wasn't even trying to be, I was trying to tone it down. So, so therefore, what that story tells me, and it was good because it shows that I do have that passion. And I think people should live their lives with passion, but that passion should have meaning. And so, helping my passion is to I want to help people. And how do I help people is I feel a lot of fulfillment by helping them, but obviously using what I've learned to help them lead a better life and more fulfilled life through improving their resilience. So out of that is my main purpose. Um, and then every day, if you come across anybody, to help them be better and help them just to help, that's so
Well,
important.
I think, you know what? I think that is the ultimate purpose. And actually, you could gauge whether someone has a true purpose or not by whether they're giving or not. That's it for me. Is like, actually, if you want to gauge whether you're on purpose, is, are you self-centered or other-centered?
Yeah.
Are you build, like, if you're building something, is it building something for others? Are you building it for yourself? Are you building, and I think that's a great place to start when you investigate purpose, because
Yeah.
I think that we're almost like we're like a computer program, aren't we? Like, the mind is a program, the body is a program, it runs on systems, and it's almost like the program, the hack of the program to get the most out of it is service. And it is the thing that gives us life, and it gives life meaning, is to be here for others.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great
I,
place. So I think maybe we should next conversation,
mm,
let's talk about responsibility, which is one of
okay.
my favorite subjects. I want to talk about because I actually found purpose through responsibility. And that's
Okay.
something that was one of the great teachings that I got right when I was purposeless,
Yeah.
was the idea of responsibility, and just to explore that subject, because I think there's a real need for that conversation, especially for young people. uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I think there's a lot of messaging at the moment that you'll find purpose in pleasure, or you'll find purpose um, in something that serves yourself. Whereas, I'm a knower that that's not true.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good.
Good
Look
chat,
forward to
mate.
it.
So we'll
Yeah.
say
Nice
goodbye,
one.
and then we'll keep chatting.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Ciao.